Sharing another free tip today from the material that's going to find its way into the getyourselftodothings.com stuff. If you haven't yet joined that list, join that list. Someone asked me the other day offline, Chris, are you talking too much about the stuff on the internet, giving it away on the YouTube? Absolutely not. I could have every single day's video be about these. It's only going to make that material better and still only scratch the surface of what is a huge amount of material I'm putting together for the getyourselftodothings.com stuff. So check it out. Now, today's point has to do with something that many of my clients have struggled with. I've had to kind of have back and forth with over my years. And that is just recognizing that your environment directly impacts the work you're putting out. The situation in which you're doing work massively impacts the kind of work you can do easier, how well you can concentrate, how much you get done. And so there's a couple of examples I'm going to use to kind of think about how we can picture the relationship to our work. Now, if I just poured water or soda or, orange juice into one of these three containers, it's still water or soda or orange juice. Doesn't actually impact anything, right? It's just a vessel. Now, the problem is sometimes we picture our work environment as if it's just a vessel. That it doesn't really matter where we're sitting, as long as we have our laptop with us, or as long as we're plugged into the internet or wherever we need, then it's all the same, right? If I can be productive here, I can be productive there. Why not in the office? Why not in the library? Why not in my bedroom sitting on the bed? Now, the problem is that our work environment isn't really a pure vessel. It's more like there was something already in the mug, right? Like you're mixing whatever you're putting into there. So now suddenly you're mixing orange juice and soda, which isn't maybe so good. Or you're mixing watering down something else you mean to drink. It's not so good. Or another way we could picture it, to try another example in case that one's grossing anybody out, is to really picture your work environment, your setting, as a type of collaborator. Like you're partnering up with somebody, or like you're inviting them over to study with you, if you will. And if we think about that kind of scenario, there's people who, if we're working with them, we're going to be more productive. Or if we're working with them on certain things, our creative work will go different directions based on who we're working with. It's part of what we love about GAM Keto Club. We're always mixing people we work with, results in us doing different work ourselves. But in the case of a physical and work environment, right? I mean, when I was in grad school, I was about a 30-minute walk from campus, and I occasionally could bike, but it'd be icy on the road certain times of year or whatever. So 30-minute walk through crummy weather, and I'd have this decision. I could spend like 6 hours at home in the evening trying to write my papers, do other grad school related work on my projects, or I could chew up half an hour going to campus, onto the library, half an hour on the way back, lose an hour total, walking in, again, crummy weather, and then have an hour less time to get the stuff done. Now, I think if you've ever been in a university setting, you probably realize I'd get way more done in the evening if instead of having the extra hour at home, I used that full half hour each way to instead be at the library. And it would dilate time. It would stretch it out. And suddenly I would easily get done what would have taken me 10, 15, 20 hours of work at home with all home's distractions and the lack of just sort of the ambience and lighting and the things that about a library setting help us be productive, help us concentrate, help us stay on task, help us focus, help us on just a really momentary basis know that if we're starting to open Facebook, starting to open Reddit, starting to open Gmail, whatever, not what we should be doing there. We close it right back. We go back to work. But that happens from our setting. When I wrote some extra credits episodes, I guess throughout last year, earlier parts of this year, those were things I was doing sitting out on a beach in Venice. Took my laptop with me I would usually do them after I had my commute from teaching little children on Thursdays. And I would either do it out in Venice Beach or I would do it around, there's a grocery store that I like. It's one of the places I did one of my work with me video sessions. And when I'm working on this book, which again is part of getyourselftodothings.com, part of why I shared that video of me sitting out in the park writing it is that park is where I'm doing most of the writing. Because what I figured out is that when I'm in that situation, when I'm in that environment, I'm far more productive on writing tasks than other kind of tasks. Now, if I'm making a YouTube video, pretty comfortable in this lit environment where I'm in front of this camera all the time doing training calls, taking office hours from GAM Keto Club, this is where I'm set up to be on camera and make videos. But if I'm not on camera making videos, then this isn't necessarily the best environment for me to work, even if it's literally unplugging my laptop from the same equipment you're seeing this recording made on. Our environment absolutely matters. It matters. And I had a discussion some years ago on Twitter about this kind of point, and somebody was relating that they had worked places where the air was bad, where the circulation was bad, where there was mold, where there was just inadequate light. And, if it's an employer's office, it's out of your control, right? You don't necessarily have a say over improving that circumstance, except to say that, of course, you've got to say over finding a different employer, finding a different work environment, but ultimately it's only hurting themselves that their employees are ill-equipped to do as best as possible the work that they should be doing or are there to do. But when it's your own stuff, then it's up to you to figure out what is the setting, the context, the environment that you're most productive in. If you find yourself feeling distracted and struggling, well, have you tried working in a different environment? Have you tried picking up your stuff, going to a public library? Have you tried picking up your stuff, being in a cafe, being in a, not everybody's setting works well in a Starbucks. Some people do. Some contractors I know really thrive there because it allows them to keep their home purely for entertainment. This whole room that I'm in is my office space. This is my workspace. I don't play games in here. I don't fool around on Facebook or, my phone in here. This room, when I'm here, I work. Now, again, the work I do in here is a certain kind of work. Do other kinds of work better elsewhere. But it's finding where are those places that work best for you that begins from the realization it absolutely matters. It's not just a vessel that you put whatever, you sit inside and do the same work. You're mixing where you go, what you do. And it impacts the quality, the quantity, the efficiency, the concentration of the stuff you're producing. If you want to do something different, you could work with somebody else. And in this case, again, that's equivalent to finding another environment to work in. Book I've been reading recently is written by somebody who went out of her way to basically find an Airbnb to write her book out of, knowing that would change up her inspiration, change up her sources, that these things directly find their way back into what we do and how we do it. And when it's your projects, your goals, your tasks, your creative output, whatever it is you're doing, your finances, for that matter, knowing that the environment matters equips you to then begin exploring, trying out some different options, figuring out what's working, what isn't. And at minimum, just to say from the other side, if you mix things, like a lot of students make this mistake, sitting up in their bed with their laptop, then their bed, even if they're either getting productive there and then having a hard time sleeping, or they're sleeping well there and having a hard time being productive. But we kind of anchor ourselves in a setting. We kind of find what it's good for and don't pollute those spaces with work if they're not supposed to be. Right? I'm not going to necessarily do the same kind of work that I sit out in the park and do in front of the TV and yada yada. You get the idea. So that's just one point today, is just really the environment absolutely matters. It affects your productivity. And don't beat yourself up if you have not yet explored, are there some other environments where maybe you do even better work than you've been seeing out of yourself. Right? Maybe you thought that you're not that good of an artist, not that good of a writer, not that good at programming, whatever it is, but you haven't put yourself in the right setting to really concentrate, really do your best work, really tap into your potential by just figuring out how to get away from the things that are distracting you and kind of locking you into the way you've been seeing things, doing things, thinking about things, prioritizing things. We change. It matters where we go. So anyway, that's it for the day. Thanks always for tuning in. Have another video for y'all tomorrow. And again, I'm going to be recording probably a whole batch for the time I'm away for Thanksgiving. Have a good one.